My next question is around the cost of living and how many countries around the world at the moment are seeing a massive increase in the cost of living, food, gas, utilities, etc. Can you talk to us about this challenge that many of us are facing?
Of course, because it is not truly real, is it? It is manufactured for a purpose. And that is at the end of time. We are talking what has traditionally been called the end times. Then the old system is fighting for its survival. And so all of the economic and political methods are imposed to break the will of the emergence of consciousness. So one finds some mechanism to make it more and more difficult. But against that background, there are those that are waking up and pointing what is really going on. In the midst of all of this, the greatest profits have been taken. More and more profit is being realized, while what you call the cost of living, which is the financial supports for the majority of people, is being dissipated. You understand? And it is also an attempt, shall we say, because all things work for the divine. So while this is occurring, people are being forced once again to re-evaluate where they stand. At which turning point do you stand? What is needed now? In the midst of all of this profiteering, there is many calamities occurring at the same time. More and more, the world is being, shall we say, shaken to its core. And only when humanity rises up in its nature of spirituality. I am going to shift the word spirituality into integration. If we realize that integration is truly the nature of the spirituality one seeks, then looking after the welfare of my neighbor is of equal importance to the looking after my own. You understand? Because together there is unity. Together there is an ability to withstand and to, shall we say, challenge the authority of others to impose their attitudes and wills for individual gain. So profiteering is about individual gain. It is part of the nature that unity is in, shall we say, a battle with. The end time, of course, is simply the marker when that battle concludes. How that occurs is up to the humankind as a whole. As you can see, everything moves endlessly towards war and destruction. But who is gaining from that? The whole of humanity, the majority of humanity, even, shall we say, only the smallest group gains anything at all. And will humankind wake up before the end, or will it simply have to rebuild itself once again? You understand, the new species, of course, are not party to this.
They will go on no matter what.
Of course. And their abilities will define them. You understand, they will recognize this is a creation, this is a dream world made up of consequences. And that brings me back to the very beginning, consequences and opportunities.
So
and that is the collision point that humanity stands within.
So when you refer to the end times and cost of living increasing, and that's coming to the end times, are you referring to the first phase of the shift in consciousness and the completion 2024? You are?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So we should see progress in the next 18 months around that. Will change.
Of course, because as the, shall we call it, cost of living, which is as the transfer of wealth from the general population to the elite begins to take greater form, how long will it take? You understand, already there is a movement. And of course, as time will tell how humans make good of this, will tell how the humans begin to join forces. You understand, what occurred has always been the dissipation of the unity or the integration or the unionization of individuals into powerful groups. You understand, if a country takes a stand, then it will always have to stand on its own feet, as it were. It is when that occurs that the whole begin to unify.
Okay.
You understand, how does this occur most easily? When some force attacks it. Look at your world. When you are under threat, everyone starts to be in the same team.
Come together.
And so your pandemic was such an attack to awaken everyone to the fact you are all in it together. And yet, once again, the nature of humankind is to seek more for myself.